All right. Well, welcome into the show today, everybody. It is the 21st of August when this is going to be played on the podcast, but the 20th of August where we're doing this live on Google Hangouts here. And my name is Aaron Montgomery. I'm with Coastal Business Supplies. And as always, I'm joined by my very good friend, Terry Combs, who's with Equipment Zone. And you can also find him over at terrycombs.com. Terry, how are you doing today?
Hey, I'm doing great, Aaron. Busy day and taking tomorrow off. So doing a little packing tonight, getting ready for the show. As soon as the show's over, my sons are calling me from Austin, and we're going to be booking our trip to this year Dominican Republic for my birthday. And so you'll have to get a new co-host for that Thanksgiving week again. Although I don't think we did a show last year, but this will be our third trip to the Caribbean for my birthday and Thanksgiving. So tonight's schedule night.
Awesome. Yeah, definitely sounds like a good time, and definitely we typically don't do that show anyhow, so we'll just play an old show or something like that. So everybody can.
An old show while we play hooky.
Absolutely. So as I talked about last time, I forgot to bring into the mix it into the intro there that you can also find some of my information over at aaronmontgomery.info. So I do want to do that shameless plug here real quick. And
I guess we should probably put that into our outline now, because you and I will constantly forget it until it's there.
Yeah. Well, I am Ron Burgundy. I just read what's on the outline, Terry. So.
Read what's on the card.
Yep. All right. Well, let's dig right in here. It's 9 o'clock at night here where I'm at. So and we got started a little bit late, but you want to start off with the first item here?
Well, I just wanted to mention real quick that Impressions Magazine sent me a notification today reminding everyone that the Impressions Awards are going to be taking place here this fall. And if anybody wants to get to send in a printed shirt, or they have all kinds of categories, and I'm actually one of the judges for the screen printing portion of the awards. But you can go to the impressions.iss shows website. We'll have the link up, but the deadline to submit in any of your printed goods that you want to show off to the world is September 11th. So you want to go to our site and get the link, or just go to impressions.issshows.com and get involved in that. So it's a lot of fun. Aaron, I know you go through and take a look at at all those items at the shows as well.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a great opportunity to just see the techniques and see what people are doing. And I think we've had people on the show that tell us about their stuff and what they're doing and how they're going to market. And so it gives you some ideas and helps you get yourself to that next level. So
well, I know when I first became a printer, I'd go in there and just try to figure out how they did this and how they did that, and it's I guess I've gone full circle being one of the judges. So
that's right. Good deal. All right. Well, before we do get into the meat of our show, we do want to remind everybody that you're listening live here to head on into the chat area. We'll try to monitor some of the comments on social throughout the course of the show here. So you can hit us on Google Plus, Two Regular Guys, or Facebook at Two Regular Guys, or even on Twitter at Two Regular Guys, and we'll try to respond. But since this is a recorded show that we'll be playing the next day, we won't have our normal chat that we have there, which we always enjoy. So we'll get back to that soon. And but let's dive in, Terry. Let's talk about when employees choose to leave and kind of what that's all about.
Well, Aaron, here's the thing about employees leaving, and employees leave for a lot of times it's a good reason. You've got a new your spouse has a new job somewhere, or you want to move closer to home, or all the real reasons that hey, it's you've done it for 20 years and you want to do something else. But managers and owners can name all those reasons that people leave. They can just off the top of their head, they'll give you all the reasons somebody left their employee. And the problem with that is most people don't quit a job. Most people quit their boss. And so today, spend a little bit of time talking about those types of things and why employees quit their boss. And in my classes, Aaron, I always say to people, Now, when you guys call your suppliers, this is how the conversation goes. You say something to the effect of, well, there's something wrong with my ink because, there's something wrong with my emulsion because, there's something wrong with my pre-treat solution because, and guess what? It's rarely the ink, it's rarely the emulsion, it's rarely the pre-treat solution. It's usually you. And it's kind of the same with employees leave. The boss can name all the reasons that person left, but chances are it was you. So it certainly, if you're in a shop that has a lot of turnover, that's going to be the case. So that's in a nutshell, that's what we're gonna be discussing tonight and on the radio tomorrow.
Awesome. Well, let's dive right into that then, and like I said, it's about the owner. So let's start with the eccentricities of ownership. We're talking about owners, managers. I've heard you over time use the phrase eccentricities of ownership, and I'm feeling that it has to be part of this conversation. So tell me a little bit about that.
It is, and it's the perfect place to start, Aaron, because it is true, and I talk, I preach this to people about the eccentricities of ownership, and every business has the personality of the owner, and it's reflected from top to the bottom. And if you deal with a vendor and they're kind of nasty on the phone, and the customer service people don't treat you very well, guess what? That probably goes right up to the owner's office. Hopefully that didn't blast anybody's ears when I knocked over my microphone. But
I just was hoping it wasn't your beer.
My beer is secure since we are doing the evening show.
Yeah, that's right.
But when you said that was okay for us to do, I was surprised because I always have a beer when we do the show. And it's 8 a.m. for me. But my point being is there's certain things you're never going to change about a business, and if you go there and you don't like the personality of that business, that's not likely to change for you. And Aaron, we talked about our friend Scott Fresner when I think when you started working at US Green, did he used to bring all the dogs to work when you were there?
Yep, I remember the first time I went into to kind of sell him something, and which kind of turned into my job interview. I had to open the gate and climb over the dogs basically to get to Scott's office, and so unfortunately they were already up there in years, so they weren't there for very long. But yeah, I mean, that's a perfect story. It's if I didn't like dogs, those dogs weren't going to go anywhere. So either I liked dogs and I took the job, or I didn't like dogs and I didn't take the job. So that's you're not going to change owners, and that's an absolute truth across the board. You can work with them. You set those expectations up front with them, and I, to kind of talk about this story, I always recommend, if you can, especially into some of the. I mean, you're going into a career. If you're going into a career, you got to go into this with your kind of what you need in mind, what your eccentricities are, and is that going to mesh with the owners and the other people that are involved there, if at all possible. When I started my job at Coastal, they brought me in and flew me in, and I spent a whole entire week in St. Louis with them before I actually accepted the job, before I was even offered the job. And I not only spent time with the owner and the people I was going to be working with, but pretty much most of the key employees came through at one point during the course of the week. I even went out to dinner with the two gentlemen that I worked with the closest, with their wives, and met their family and stuff like that. So I basically had to get the thumbs up from the wives too before they would make that hire and offer me the job. But it is important that you get those personalities to mix. You may be an excellent sales manager. You may be an excellent customer service person in the job that you're in currently, but that doesn't mean that you're going to be successful in another company. And so what you did in the past doesn't really matter. It's what you're going to do in the future and how you're going to get your personalities to mix. So
right. And you know, and Aaron, some of those eccentricities are, I don't want it to sound like they're all negative. You know, there's positives too, but the point being, and as you've said, it's a matter of if the personality of that company doesn't mix with what you know, the kind of environment you want to have, you may as well turn and walk away. I remember, speaking of the dog story, I remember Scott saying one time that there was, I think it was a new salesman, and walked into Scott's office on the second day and said, "Listen, the dogs go where I do." Needless to say, the dog stayed.
Yep. Yeah, I do remember that. So yeah, definitely true. All right. Well, let's dig in a little bit further then. So what's your first warning to owners and managers about why their employees are walking away?
Well, this is a pretty simple one. Every employee, and I don't care who you are, at what level you are, everybody wants to have that occasional pat on the back. And this is outside of the realm of our industry, but I was on a flight once, and there were two pilots sitting across the aisle from me, deadheading to somewhere, you know, so that they could pick up a plane and fly it back. And I'm kind of eavesdropping on their conversation because it was pretty interesting. They were talking about their work. They're talking about their work relationships, and apparently these two gentlemen were not whoever the head pilot is or whatever. They were co-pilots, I guess, because one said to the other, they were talking about this other pilot, and one said to the other, "Just once, I'd like him to say 'nice landing.'" And I thought, holy cow, you know, these guys are airline pilots, and just wanting that coworker to one time say, "You did a good job there." And me, you know, of course, me being a writer, I immediately whipped out my notebook and wrote that down and used it in a couple of articles. But I thought, well, that is so telling about work, and you know, we spend a lot of time in our work life, and you want to have you want it to be a good environment, and everybody needs to hear that occasional, you know, nice landing. So
yeah, absolutely. That's a really good point there, that you know, and actually taking that story and using it, something that, you know, as a manager, you know, I have people that work for me, and I do have to remember that kind of thing, you know, that I do need to make sure that I let them know that they're doing a good job. So, you know, if my plan is tomorrow, I've got a whiteboard that's right across from where my desk is at that I basically stare at all day, and on that whiteboard tomorrow, I'm going to write on there, "Nice landing." And that'll remind me that, you know, when I walk out the door and I see that, I can go and remind the people that are working for me that hey, nice job, way to take care of that customer, way to, you know, work through that issue or whatever the case may be.
Right. Well, and you know, it's got to be sincere. I remember once there was a when I was a student employee at the campus bookstore all the way through college, and one of the young assistant managers there, he had left his notebook sitting out on one of the pages right there for everyone to see, is, "Make sure you tell everybody they did a good job today." And I don't know, it kind of struck me funny that it was part of his schedule. Hey, good job.
Hey, yeah, I mean, whatever you got to do, that's it. You know, it does sound a little strange, but hey, you know, if you got to schedule it to do it, then at least he's thinking about it. So that's good. Yeah, exactly. Well, let's stay on that. Let's stay on the subject of recognition. You know, what are you seeing out there in the production shops from managers?
Well, you know, one thing that I hear, Aaron, that it always bothers me too when I hear it, but you know, and I don't consult as much as I used to, but when I get out there into shops and I'll start talking about you know, positive reinforcement, that kind of thing with the staff, a lot of managers and owners will say, you know, I pay them to do their work, and I pay them to do a good job. When they get their paycheck, that's when they know they did a good job. And you know, just that, like I was saying, we spend so much time in our work life and with our coworkers. You've got to create a better environment than that. You know, that callous, you know, you get paid, so therefore I don't need to tell you you're doing a good job. I pay you to do a good job. It's just that absolutely the wrong way to look at it. So yeah. I guess that's the thing that disturbs me out there. You know, and hey, again, we're talking about why people leave. but there's certainly, lots of positive stories too. One thing that, and I may have talked about it here on the show, I guess in heading on into our third year, we've talked about a lot of things more than once, but I remember asking, about what people thought their company benefits were, and I don't know how many people said one of the benefits of the company was that if I do a really good job, sometimes my boss will give me movie tickets. And I thought, gosh, for the price of $20, and that includes 2 sodas and a popcorn, that person just felt so gratified by that. And a lot of people think it's all about the bonus, it's all about the raise, all about the paycheck, and it really isn't. Once people make enough money that they can pay their bills and have a little bit of folding money in their pocket, then they're looking for other types of reinforcement from their work, and something as simple as those movie tickets, is people see as a great benefit and recognition of their good work.
Yeah. No, that's definitely a good point, and I'm happy that you pointed out the fact that it isn't all about paychecks and bonuses and all that other stuff. It is. There's a lot more to it that keep people there and keep them happy. And like I said, the movie tickets, it's something as easy as that. Starbucks $5 gift cards, or you're not even buying the whole coffee for them, but they're still gonna appreciate that. And
you gotta get the $10 card for that.
Yeah, exactly. but just things like that, and you can take it to even a bigger level than that. One of the things that, like I said, every company's got its own personality, and our company, Coastal's, the owners are very much into sports, and was an athlete in his younger days, and his sons were athletes and all that other stuff, and being in St. Louis here, everybody's a baseball nut, and with the Cardinals and whatnot, and so you could go and have a Christmas party every year, or a holiday party, excuse me, for those that don't celebrate Christmas, but yeah, but they've decided that it's more important to do something that the company as a culture is going to enjoy and be able to bond over. And so we don't do a company Christmas party. We go to the Cardinals game every year. And, as the company's grown, it gets more and more expensive to do it, but we rent a suite and have beer, wine, food, everything taken care of. So, you cover the parking and get yourself there, and each employee gets a ticket for themselves and one for their spouse. So, at 35 employees, we've got 70 people that need tickets, and so it's an awesome event. We pick a game that's on a Friday night, and we get everybody. We shut down the office a little bit early and get down there, and again, that is a perk of working at Coastal, is you get to go to that baseball game. And for some of the staff, it may be the only game that they go to, or definitely the only game they're going to go to in a box.
Yeah, exactly right. And inviting the spouse also, that brings the spouse or significant other into the culture of the company as well. And so when that employee goes home, that spouse waiting there at home has a positive feeling about your company as well.
Yeah, totally. All right. Well, we've talked on the show before about the flip side of this. You've talked about managers spending all their time focusing on the problem children in the company. Can you go into a little more in depth on that?
Well, yeah, exactly. Here's the deal. It's so easy when you've got, and this is going to be the case most places, the majority of your employees are going to be good employees, and it's so easy for a manager to flip the other side of the coin and focus all their attention on getting the problem children in line, that all the people doing a good job, they're it's like you're all good, keep going, you don't need anything from me, just keep doing it, and focusing only on the black sheep, when in reality it's going to be much more positive for the company all the way around, even for the black sheep, for you to spend that time praising good performance in front of the problem children, and making them realize that, no, you're not getting all the manager's attention and assistance. You're going to stand here and watch while somebody's doing a really good job gets recognized in front of the whole company for that. So, you know, I wanted to jump back real quick too about the what you were saying about going, you know, your company growing and going to the holiday party and more people. I remember reading a management book years ago where someone said, you know, once you give a perk, you can never take it away, because people see that perk as it's part of my compensation. If you take it away, what have I done wrong? You know, and this particular story was this company would buy a Christmas ham for all the, you know, for their 10 employees. When they had 200 employees, they still had to buy everybody a Christmas ham. So, you know, it's one good thing to offer those kind of things, but you can never take it back. So.
Yes, it's definitely a very interesting conversation every year as that box grows, because it's not so much the number of people, it's the fact that the one box can only hold so many people. So you're upgrading in the next box that can hold 150 people, but you're still paying for all of them. So anyways,
we're gonna sit in the bleacher seats in the outfield this year.
yeah. Now I do have to admit that this year the games just didn't pan out to work out. So we did poll all of the employees and gave them a few other options, and you know, still we're gonna go big, and we're actually on September 19th going to Six Flags here in St. Louis for the day, and letting them, not only your wives but all their kids too. So
oh my gosh.
So, you know, we tried not to take the perk away or change it, but, you know, it did happen. So we felt like we were giving an equal value and got input from everybody. So I think we're going to be okay.
You guys should do shirts, just saying.
If I knew a guy, no. Hey, so real quick, Terry, I do want to, before we get on to the next reason people mysteriously leave, I do want to go back kind of the black sheep thing. I've got a story there that actually was, you know, I'll use names because she doesn't work there anymore, but my wife worked at the VA as a counselor there, and so being a government job, you know, it definitely is managed a lot different than most jobs, right. And it was a bit of a challenge for my wife to fit into that. But one of the things that drove her nuts the most, and probably was one of the reasons why she left, was that there were other coworkers of hers that perform much less, and as they did a poor job, basically the managers would take work away from them, give it to Kylene, my wife, and put them on what they would call a performance improvement plan. But the performance improvement plan was basically just taking away the work from them so they weren't so overwhelmed to try to figure out what was going on. And then the straw that kind of broke the camel's back was, so at this point, you know, that was enough. You know, she had, I don't know the exact numbers, we'll say 150 cases where her coworker had 20. You know, something way out of whack like that. And then they decided to institute a program where you could get a monetary bonus by improving your performance. But because, and this completely low person on the totem pole won the bonus because they had the farthest to go. I mean, they had you know, it was so hard for my wife to improve over what she was doing because she was already doing a good job. And this other person had so much room to improve that it was easy for them to just actually show up at work for a week and care. That was a frustration.
Those kind of things can definitely backfire on you.
Yeah. So unfortunately now that group, yeah, unfortunately now that group, you know, she still has some friends that are there, and it's unfortunately continuing to go downhill. Other good people have left, and you know, so you feel bad for that, but hopefully one of these times that manager will figure out that, like you said earlier in the show, it's them, it's not these people that are leaving.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly right.
All right, well, let's get back. What's next on your list of reasons people mysteriously leave their jobs?
Well, this one, the whole idea that you have to treat your employees equally, and the whole concept of teacher's pet did not end in high school. It happens in large companies and in small companies, and sometimes there's an employee that's treated differently. My daughter, Taylor, when she was in college, one of the jobs that she did was she worked at one of the local gyms, Planet Fitness, and the manager there would always pick one employee as her buddy, and that employee wouldn't have to open and close. That employee wouldn't have to wipe down the equipment, and all the other employees resented that, and so that treating one person differently caused people to be, and that my daughter actually quit her job, left there over that situation. So, and it takes on another face as well. I worked for a company in the Midwest once where we had 100 employees, and the president of the company had a personal assistant, and he would just go on and on and on about how wonderful she was, and just what a breath of sunshine she was at the office. And it could not have been more opposite. And finally, I told him in a manager's meeting, because he would just rave and rave and rave about wonderful she was. But the minute she was out of his sight, she was the most rude, the most condescending, the nastiest human being. And so everybody just kind of ignored it in the management group. And finally, he was just raving about her in a meeting. And I'm like, hold it. Nobody wants to tell you this, but this woman is evil. And he's like, she goes to my church. And I'm like, well, whatever she does at church is one thing. Whatever she says to you, however she treats you is one thing. But we have 100 employees, and 99 people in this building hate her. And he was just flabbergasted by the whole thing. But finally, by pointing it out, it did rectify itself. He kept her on. He kind of kept her on a short leash, and kept her really from interacting with the other employees. So it's kind of like your situation with Kylene. Well, if you can't play well with others, I'll just make a special job for you over here. But bottom line is, everybody's got to be treated on an equal basis. Even if you have friends that work there, or you want to be buddies with one of the employees, everybody's got to be on the exact same equal footing.
Yep. No, that's a really good point. That's a challenge I think you face, especially with a growing company. I think it can be even more challenging because you've had that person that's been with you and kind of maybe been your right hand person, or your go-to person there, and you bring in new employees, and if they feel like there's a golden child. I think we dealt with that a little bit. I know I was called the golden child a few times at US Screen, and I'm sure that pissed off some people.
You were the golden boy there.
Hey, just be as good as me and you'll be all right. I don't know what to tell you.
Well, you took more hits for all of us that were on the sales team than you got perks from being the golden boy, I'm afraid.
I do like to protect my people, and sometimes that protection came at a cost, but oh well. I live to tell about
Please come to Pat's office.
Yep. All right. Well, that's probably a story for in-person Wings and Beer style. But
right, exactly.
Speaking of Wings and Beer style, and I know we've talked about this a lot of times, probably on the show and definitely over Wings and Beer. But I know you have a thing about people keeping their word. So how does this impact employees make them walk away?
Well, a common thing for a manager and owner who doesn't want to make a decision, or doesn't want to tell somebody, hey, guess what? I have bad news for you. They'll kick it down the road, because it's easy to say, well, you know what? Yeah, I understand you want to raise. We'll talk about it in a month. Or you know what? Yeah, so-and-so got a promotion, but you're next in line. Next management position, it's yours. And it's easy to say those things. And sometimes a manager says it with absolutely no sincerity at all. I'm just gonna kick this down the road. I'm going to worry about it later on. I'm not going to worry about it now. Or the manager is basically sincere about it, but not important to the manager enough to remember that you've made that promise. But that same employee that you said, hey, we're going to talk about that raise in a month, they went home and they pulled out their calendar and they marked exactly 1 month and put a big circle around it and wrote raise. And when you don't go back to that employee in a month and talk about that raise or talk about that promotion, then you've lost them. They no longer have any faith in what you say to them, no longer trust you, and you know, that's a point where they're starting to polish off their resume and look for another place to go. So, you know, you got to be, first of all, really careful about making those promises if you don't intend to keep them, and second of all, if you make that promise, it's going to be very, very important to that employee. So so make sure that you follow through on it, because, you know, and I hear this from people all the time, is that, well, I was promised this or I was promised that and it never happened, and, you know, I'm moving on. So keep your promises.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, let's keep this going. Unfortunately only have an hour, so, and I know you're really passionate about this. So what's next on your list?
Well, you know, here's this is kind of like the situation with Kylene, and that was a perfect example. And I was thinking, oh gosh, I was just thinking about this same concept is piling work on, and it's really easy to somebody who's doing a really good job like Kylene. You know what? We'll just give you more work to do, because it's easier to give it to you, because I know you'll find a way to get it done, than to risk giving it to that marginal employee and maybe it doesn't get done or doesn't get done the way I want it. So what happens is, with a lot of really good employees, they just keep getting more and more assignments and more reasons to stay late or come in on a Saturday just to get your week's work done. You've got to come in all the extra time because you've been given so many jobs to do because you're good at what you do. So managers just have to be careful about accidentally taking advantage of your best employees. You know, go back to the campus bookstore, and hey, I was the lowest man on the totem pole at the campus bookstore, you know, and I was a guy that worked about 20 hours a week while I was going to college, but we had a job list. All the people that worked there, we had about 10 people worked over in the book department, you know, and so we'd price the books and we'd help people find the books for their classes and this and that. But there was a jobs list of all these different things that had to be done every week. Some of them were daily jobs, some were weekly jobs. And at the start of every quarter, you'd go in and see, you know, well, who got this job, who got that job. Well, one quarter I came in there, and I think it was my senior year, and down the entire jobs list, my name was next to every job. And I turned to the manager and I'm like, well, nobody else is doing any of these jobs? And he goes, well, you do such a good job with it all. Well, yeah, I appreciate that. But while I was hurrying around getting all these different jobs done that had to be done on a daily or weekly basis, the other people that worked at the bookstore, if there were no customers over there, they were sitting around on the counters watching me work. And that, you know, that obviously, Aaron, that was a couple of years ago. And it still kind of irritates me today that well, yeah, I do a good job with it, but it doesn't mean I want to do them all.
I was gonna say.
So anyway, but
that's back in college. Then you know, I didn't even know they had books back then. Those tablets had to be really heavy.
They were tablets, yeah.
The stone tablets, you know.
You know, my son-in-law is at Nuke school, and you know, they can't everything they study or work on is high security, you know, and so he can't even have pencil and paper there to write things down. They actually have dry marker boards that they take notes on, and I'm like, wait, Little House on the Prairie, he's taking a slate to school?
Nice. All right. Well, I know. Pretty sure they use like transistors and some of that old school stuff too, because that stuff's not
sure.
subject to getting electrocuted or whatever. I don't know how that works. watch too many Science Channel shows, but all right, let's keep moving here. So now let's talk about employees that are moving from punching a clock to being on salary and have some reality checks, like working late weekends with no change in pay. How does that affect employees? Does it affect and make them move on?
Well, I think it does. I think that I think there are a lot of companies, a lot of owners, a lot of managers who think, hey, once somebody is on salary, they're pretty much on call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And yes, you know, when you're on salary, there you do well. Aaron, you and I have done it. We've worked many a weekend at trade shows and that sort of thing. Many a night doing open houses. I remember when we'd have those late night sessions when we had the screen printing classes, and we'd do demonstrations and all that sort of thing till 7 or 8 o'clock at night, and that's part of the territory. But the people want management to look at that as, hey, I appreciate you putting that extra effort and putting that extra time, and you know, when we're at US Screen, Scott always would say that, hey, I really appreciate you guys staying and doing the demos for the class, that sort of thing. But some managers and owners basically think they own all your time, and everybody needs some time away, and everybody needs some time off, and some managers and owners will take advantage of that, and so, you know, you just have to treat the employees with, there's a definitive work week here. Yes, sometimes we go outside of it, but nobody should be expected to work, you know, Monday through Friday. But, you know, I also expect you to come in half a day on Sunday. That shouldn't be the norm. So, you know, as I said, you know, having the understanding that, yes, I'm willing to put in the extra time, but don't, you know, expect me to be answering emails at midnight on Sunday, that sort of thing, you know. And hey, that's been all over the news lately. It's kind of a big issue. My son, Chris, just went to work for a new company where they basically don't want you working overtime, and they have no vacation schedule. They say, if you feel you need time off, just take the time off. There's no limit on the number of days you can take, and that seems to work great for them. But I guess the bottom line is even your employees on salary need their time needs to be respected. And you know, a lot of the companies that I know from the industry that you know, that work a lot of trade shows, a lot of them get maybe half day off for every full day they work over the weekend, that sort of thing, you know, on Fridays on Saturdays and Sundays. Just that little bit of compensation, that added compensation by giving a half day off, makes that employee realize that, you know, yeah, you do appreciate the extra effort I put in, and the commitment that I have given to the company. So. Yeah. So don't take advantage of those employees.
Yeah. Man, why have we never worked at a place like that?
Yeah, I don't remember getting any extra days off, but there's certainly some in the industry that do.
Yeah. So no, and that's not actually true. The thing with both the places that I've been, you know, for a long time with Coastal and US Screen is, it's not I'm going to be told I get an extra day off or something like that. It's like you said, they value my time, and if I need to do something, or if I need to take some time away, or, you know, I don't even have to ask, but they know that I'm putting in the work and putting in the effort, and, you know, we'll go stretches where, you know, you and I have been on the show circuit like we've been on for the last however many odd years. There will be times, just based on the show schedules, where I have not had days off for well over 2 months. Yeah, and it just part of working in a small business and working in an environment where you do a lot of trade shows. So, but at the same time, like I said, they've always been very good about, you know, when that 2 months of time is up and I need to do something or take some personal time or just step out for an afternoon, there's no questions about it. I don't feel like somebody's looking at me cross-eyed because I'm not there that week when everybody else is there or whatever. So. Right.
Exactly.
Yep. All right. So you're in sales now, and you deal with the salespeople. Is a whole different show and ball game, and but you've also been a senior manager at several large garment decorators around the country over the past 35 years. 35 years, wow.
I know.
Where did time go? Anyway, sorry. So how'd you deal with those same owner-manager issues we're talking about here?
Well, for me, I was lucky enough after basically being in the same industry for years, and I'm talking about here really running production shops, more than sales. But so when I was a senior manager, I was normally a plant manager or a production manager, something like that. But I got to the point where I could walk in and say, okay, what is it you're trying to accomplish, here? And maybe it was, Jones & Mitchell Sportswear, they were basically 2 to 6 weeks behind schedule when I got to work there. And that was the one thing, we need to ship on time. And I come back and say, okay, I can get you to that. I can get you over here to point B, but don't quiz me. Don't question me. Don't ask me every day, how are you doing it? I don't necessarily need your recommendations on how you would do it, because obviously you're not doing it now. So I got, after a while, you get to the point where, you can go into a company and say that sort of thing. But we all don't have that, have that opportunity, and I worked many years to get to that point. But here's along those lines, when I said, I don't want to be quizzed and questioned at every step of the way. Are you sure that's a good idea? That sort of thing. A lot of managers, micromanaging is, and Aaron, you and I've talked about this many times before, but to micromanage people and question every decision they make is just so counterproductive. And what happens is then sitting around the break room, the conversation is, no matter what I do, no matter what I say, no matter what I decide, it's not right. It's not good enough. So what happens then is that employee will all of a sudden, every assignment they get, okay, well, exactly what do you want me to do? And the manager will have to tell them, okay, here's exactly what I want you to do. And that employee will do exactly that, nothing more, nothing less. If he sees things going afoul, he'll say, well, this is what he told me to do, so that's what I'm going to do. And so you've lost any creativity, you've lost any motivation among the employees when you just nitpick on everything. You gotta trust your employees to do their jobs. And trust me, as a manager, and I've had as many as 75 production floor employees before, and 3 or 4 supervisors out there. And gosh, sometimes I would just have to go in my office and, press my forehead against the wall going, oh my gosh, but I got to let them do it. I got to let them go out there and do the job, make some mistakes. And in the end, it always pays off.
All right. Well, so, all right. Trying not to throw you curveballs here, but
you threw me a curve by Skyping me. You made me lose my train of thought.
I had to poke at you a little bit. That's what friends do. So, all right. So you always have a lot of comments about owners and managers, and today's show is really about what owners and managers do wrong with managing their employees. But more than that, what owners and managers do to lose good employees. Well, time for one more, I think, based on our schedule here. What's your last suggestion to management?
Well, here's the one thing that managers have trouble with is first of all giving a compliment, and the second is giving a compliment without saying "but." You did a good job, but don't be that guy. Just give the compliment and go. But but my parting comment to business owners and managers is, look in the mirror when you're looking for someone to blame for your shrinking staff or other issues. Hey, guess what? It's not too late to right the ship for your business. Those good employees that you're looking for, because what I was going to say before is those employees that probably working for you right now. So, kind of look in the mirror, take a little bit of the blame for issues that are happening, and maybe those great employees you're looking for are already out there working for you now.
Yeah. Okay, good. So one quick comment, you said that the part about the but, saying good job, but adding the but in there, that is a challenge, and that's a real challenge. So there's something that I took with me from my high school, and I don't even know if they do this anymore, but it was.
Is this something you're supposed to take?
No. Well, so I get to it here. So the dare, we had a dare program at school. It's the dare to keep kids off drugs kind of thing, and they were trying to keep us from doing drugs basically. And but the one thing that I took from that whole thing, and it had nothing to do with the drugs. I never did drugs or anything like that, so I thought the whole thing was pretty hilarious. But I was so naive at the time, I didn't even realize that anybody actually did at that age. I just thought it was like preemptive or something. Anyways, getting too far off track here, but but the one thing that they said, if somebody offers you drugs, use the sandwich method. And unfortunately, throughout my life, I've always done that. And the sandwich method is say something nice, put the negative in there, but then say something else nice. So in the context of if somebody was asking you if you'd like to do drugs, say, thanks for asking. There's the nice part. I don't do drugs, but we can still be friends. So as a manager, that's always a challenge, because I always want to kind of make sure that I'm getting my point across still, but you're right. You got to just get rid of the but, tell them nice job, period, then come back and address any issues at a different time. So it's good.
Exactly
good
right.
Point well taken. All right. Well, how about as we talked about last week, the person who handles most of the show also gets to do the tip. So
we're totally out of sync. But okay, here's my tip. My tip's about properly applying chemicals in a screen printing shop. And I've got to give a shout out to my friend Dave Garrick over at and a friend of the show over at Atlas Screen Supply, because he does demonstrations of using chemicals in my screen printing classes. And I have to confess, I was doing a lot of this the wrong way, because Dave says that don't I'll give an example of a press wash where you clean the ink out of the screen on the press. And myself and probably 99% of people will actually put apply that chemical to a rag and then wipe the rag on to the screen. Well, what Dave says is that uses about 4 times more chemical. What you should do, you card out the ink and actually spray the chemical right on the screen, take a brush and brush it around, and then just wipe it off the screen with a dry towel. And in big shops, that can save you hundreds and hundreds of dollars in chemicals. So my tip is actually Dave Garrick's tip, and properly applying chemicals.
That's a great tip. You just save people a bunch of money. Thanks, Dave.
Exactly right.
All right. Well, let's get a couple of things, house cleaning things done, and we'll sign off for the night. And I just wrapped up my beer, so it's time to go. Probably head to bed. I would like to say grab another beer, but I'm going to head to bed. All right. So the event that I've got coming up nice. The event that I've got coming up that I want everybody to know about is our 25th anniversary open house is coming up at Coastal Business Supplies here in St. Louis, Missouri, and we're west of the airport, so there's no rioting going on over on our side of the city. Fortunately, that stuff continues to plague our city. I don't take sides. I don't get involved at all, and just try to stay out of it. But anyways, so September 25th. From 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. and you can get more information about it on our website at coastalbusiness.com. So, Terry, what do you got coming up here?
I have my complete screen printing business course at Workhorse Products in Phoenix. That will be September 19th and 20th. I have the same course at Atlas Screen Supply in Chicago, November 14th and 15th. Both those classes sold out last time, so if you're interested in coming, get signed up. You can find it at my website, terrycombs.com, under tour dates. And I'll also, next weekend, Aaron, will be in Friday, Saturday, Sunday in Philadelphia at the NBM show, and I'll be there in the Equipment Zone booth. So stop by and say hello. And that's the end of my event list.
Outstanding. Well, like you said, NBM Philadelphia is coming up August 28th through the 30th. ISS Orlando will be up next after that, and we'll be doing the show live from there, as well as having our two guys, a girl and a t-shirt style seminar there. I think you may even have one other seminar, if I remember correctly. And that's September 10th through the 12th. And September 13th is my birthday, in case anybody wants to send gifts. And NBM Denver is after that. That should be a really interesting show. First time doing that show in Denver there, October 2nd through the 3rd. It's a 2-day show there. ISS Fort Worth is after that, which is October 15th through the 17th. And finally, to wrap up the year, you've got SGIA show in Atlanta. That should be a great event, November 4th through the 6th. And we're doing live shows at both ISS Fort Worth and SGIA Atlanta. And
I believe we'll be doing the only authorized show at SGIA.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, we've got an actual location that SGIA is giving us. It's out in the lobby area. We'll have tables set out there, and want you to come be a part of that and talk to us. And it'll be a great show. And we're also, you and I are going to do. Still got to work out some details on that, but you and I are also going to do another seminar there, kind of a versus type thing for a little fun, but just really kind of sharing some of the different decorating techniques and where they're good and where they maybe not be so good, but do it in an entertaining me versus you kind of ranch versus blue cheese style. So that should be a lot of fun.
It'll be another version of this show, Aaron.
Yep, should be great. All right, well that's about it. So thanks for spending some time with us tonight. If you checked us out live, and if you're hearing this via the podcast, we appreciate you tuning in and joining us. And I'll be with you guys next week talking with Jim Tenholder from ISW about the white toner craze that's going on out there, and kind of hear a lot of people talking about it. So we're going to share what all this white toner transfer stuff's all about with the Oki Data printers, and something that my company is also involved in. But Jim's the master distributor and who we buy from. So looking forward to talking to him about the Oki Data printers.
Very good. We will see you next week. I'll be at the Philly show, but maybe I can call in for a minute or two.
That'd be great. All right. Well, have a fun weekend, and we'll talk to you next week, hopefully a little bit.
Fantastic. Talk to you then.